Well, it's time to look back at events that happened in September in the Isle of Man. I've come back to a studio. I've been getting quite a lot of interviews here recently. With me is the living legend, none other than Terry Cringle, who we've worked here together for a long time. But I mean, I was more in the programming. You've always done the Terry Cringle news services and worked for Manx Radio. You worked for the local paper. You're still doing all that sort of stuff. But I thought it'd be great to catch up with you and get your take on events. And I think really September is just really about the election, really, isn't it? I mean, that's it.
That's
really
what dominated the whole month's news. I have to explain, by the way, that because I'm sort of semi-retired these days, I don't do any frontline news at all. I'm just sort of not up to speed like, well, you had Marion Kenny, the news editor of Manx Radio, the perfect choice. You know, she's had her finger on the whole, you know.
We just like to spread it around a bit. And get
but anyway,
your
yes,
views.
it's my last chance of appearing on television.
Well, you've done it all. I mean, that you are such a. I mean, you're still working. I mean, we're going off subject slightly, but you're still going strong. You don't want to retire yourself?
I'm 85. I suppose sometime I've got to retire, but retiring doesn't appeal to me. I don't want to just sit in the house and watch afternoon television and look at a lot of wretched advertisements. So, no. And I like what I do. Doing Times Past in the Examiner, that is very good, and it's what happens, by the way, to the old journalists, the old hacks. They finish up doing the nostalgia page, so I can't be blamed for that. I mean, I'm by far the oldest, so I was bound to get it.
It's a great item. I love it.
But oh yeah, the readership is enormous, and that means there's a lot of response. So I don't have to think of something every week. Every week there's something else crops up from the previous week. In fact, I have to think in terms of 3 weeks. You know, I'm thinking about last week's, this week's, and next week's. Which doesn't make it easy for
rather you than me. How many elections will you have covered and seen, Manx elections, over the years? I mean, when did you start? 'Cause I know you went away to work in Manchester and that sort of thing.
Oh, yes.
But when were you back in here and actually...
When I was really back here after working away, you know, got my apprenticeship on the Examiner and all that. So I came back after getting married, and 1963, 62. So when I came back, I was in for freelance journalism, so I was covering the Isle of Man, Terry Cringle News Services. So I worked in every possible medium for just about every possible media outlet.
What were elections like, though, in those days compared to... Well, they've done over 2 days, and I still remember that.
Oh, I don't go back that far, but elections used to take a week. I think that was largely because of the logistics and the organisation, and they gradually reduced it. It came down to 2 days, and then 1 day, and that was a big day. I don't remember which day.
No. What do you make of this new crowd, especially the 12 new members? And as at the time of recording, we're still waiting to find out who's going to be the Chief Minister, of course. But I mean, anything exciting about this election that you know?
The most exciting thing, by far and away, is 5 women.
Why is that?
Because we've never had 5 women before.
And do you think it should be completely balanced, or you're not for?
Well, or you mean
make it
12,
equal?
12 women and 12 men.
Yeah.
I think that wouldn't. Well, I suppose it could happen. I mean, women are equal, aren't they?
Sure. But you wouldn't like to see it actually, you know, you must vote half and half.
Oh, no, it's, you know, people should decide who they're going to vote for. And I voted for one of the ladies, and she came knocking on my door, and I just looked at her and heard her talk to me for about 5 minutes, and I thought, right, I'm going to vote for you, lady. And I did. I'd better not give a name, because that means it'll say...
People will be working it out where you live now.
Well, there's one thing.
Is it still a door-knocking sort of thing, though? I mean, you're that generation, but do you think it's moving more towards it should just be online? And
Electioneering. On the knocker, it's called. And there was an MHK called Victor Neal, West Douglas. And he was always returned, and he would be on the knocker. Everybody in his constituency would have him. That's before the election. The day after the election, he was back on the knocker. And, you know, he was just there. And that's what he believed in. The one thing I do miss now, there aren't so many election meetings. There used to be, well, it used to be in the evenings, there were lots of election meetings, and because people didn't have much to do in the evening, they turned up, and they turned up with a vengeance. And there were all sorts of terrible things. Fights would start.
And you've got to survive that if you're going to go be in MHK.
Oh,
You've got to
yeah.
be ready for that sort of
In
confrontation.
fact, I was at one meeting in Onchan Parish Hall. This is quite a long time ago. And a man at the back started fighting. And the police had to be called in. So I, as a journalist, rushed up there to see what was going on. And who should I see but my girlfriend's father?
He was causing the trouble.
And he was causing the trouble. I think he'd had a drink or two.
But, I think that there's more requisitions this time around, than maybe even 5 years ago. I think there's a resurgence almost a bit.
I think there is, and the candidates now have to show themselves. They have to, if in a manner of speaking, expose themselves. I don't think the ladies would. So, no, there's no escaping facing up to the public and facing up to public questions and very vocal public criticism. And there's been a lot of criticism of the past administration.
Rightly so? Rightly so, do you think?
I don't think I'm qualified to comment on that. But I would say yes, but that's a qualified yes.
Okay.
You can't really dismiss a whole administration. And but the people wanted a change. Well, they've got one.
Well, as I said, at the time of recording, we don't know who the Chief Minister is. I mean, in fact, the paper is actually out of date because obviously, as it stands, Mr Skelly's not in the final run. And obviously, we've also got Mr Watson's gone for the Speaker. So we've got the three candidates. Would you like to take a punt on who's going to get it, if any of those, of course?
Well, there's two things. I can take a punt on it, or I can say who I would prefer.
You can do what you want.
Well, there's Kate Beecroft. Now, that would be refreshing to see a woman as Chief Minister, and especially Kate Beecroft, who is a very effective and very experienced MHK.
She's saying that she won't sign up the whole of Comyn to the Lib Van agenda.
Oh, no, there's no point in that, because Lib Van, I mean,
the three of them.
It talks a lot, but there's not a lot.
Right.
So
Howard Quayle?
Well, I don't know Howard too well, but one man, well, I know him fairly well, but I know his father better, and that's Mr Cannon.
Yes.
Now, there is a retired former army officer, so he knows what he's about when it comes to organising and speaking, as he's shown. And I think he's been sort of putting himself forward during, as an MHK, looking ahead to the Chief Ministership. And he might have had an idea that the Chief Minister was going to retire. So I think Mr Cannon.
Fine. Well, we'll leave it there. It was meant to be a review of the month. We didn't really do much of that. But it was fascinating to talk to you, Terry. And you're just going to keep going and keep going. That's the motto, isn't it? 85 and just keep.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I like what I do. I enjoy it. Also, I get paid, which is useful
for your lifestyle
and for what's left of my lifestyle. But then again, as I say, I have to get up and go to the office, which all journalists like to do. A lot of them to get away from the wife, but I haven't got a wife, so that doesn't apply. But the most fortunate thing in my work lifestyle is the fact that I've got a workspace here at Manx Radio. I have my little corner where which I rent, so I'm not a freeloader.
And until, I don't know, in a few years ago, maybe a bit more than that, you were using a typewriter still. You have moved into the modern world now, haven't you?
I have got a computer in front of me.
My goodness, that took a long time for you to move over.
And I'm not been best friends with it.
I can imagine.
But I do have a typewriter.
You still got it?
Typewriter. It's still right down below the desk. But no, I'm saying I come to Manx Radio certainly all the weekdays, and those weekdays at the post when everybody else is here, that's when I am happiness. I am spending my working day surrounded by young people like you. Well, not you. You're not here,
I'm not young.
But you're young enough for me. But no, and I'm talking about young people, men, women, all of whom are intelligent. They're hard workers. They have good fun. There's plenty of badinage, and I can keep up with that. And I'm not too bad at it. And so this really keeps the spark alive in me. So, and I have to say, they're all very nice with me. They're all very patient, and they're all very helpful.
I mean,
especially with the computer.
I've got to say, I mean, you and Alan Bell, you had the Terry Cringle News Services up here, and you literally were the only place that news from to the United Kingdom came through, really, wasn't it? You were the conduit for everything.
Strictly speak, yes, pretty well. When something really big happened, which was beyond my resources to cover for everybody, quite a few other journalists were able to chip in, because all the media outlets around the world were trying to grab any Manx journalist they could.
Like the Summerland.
Yeah, Summerland. What did I say?
You didn't say anything, just a big incident, basically. Yeah.
That was the one that I always feared, having a big thing like that dropping on me. But no, as I say, it's working at Manx Radio is a bit like being in a care home.
Really, that's classic. Should we leave it at that? But maybe we'll sit down and do another chat with Terry about his life. I think at some point that'd be fascinating.
The life, yeah. People keep asking me if I'm going to write my
memoirs.
Life story, my memoirs. One of the problems is, at my age, you forget such a lot. But I don't know whether I've got enough time left to write a book.
Well, get on with it then. That's what I would say.
Get on with it, yes.
Thank you, Terry, for joining us. Thanks so much. And
no, that's all right. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to work with you again, too.
I know we go back a long way.